Morning, Bob. Who else is on besides Bob? Morning. Bob Lumber, sure. Are you in Teaneck?
Yeah.
Very good. Give my regards to my mishpacha there, okay?
Okay.
That doesn't matter.
You just go knocking on every door. I have regards.
No, it's, I'm trying to remember which shul he davens in, my brother-in-law. Actually, I've got two brothers-in-law. One davens in B'nai Yeshurun, one davens
Elsewhere.
where Rabbi Cantorfogel used to be the rabbi. It's
Want to
not,
have
What?
Sobolevsky, Rav Tzvi Sobolevsky, his shul I davened.
oh, okay, no, they don't daven on that shul.
Rav Kanafogel's Beth Aaron, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where they both daven. Beth Aaron.
Tell Bob, nobody had the phone go off.
Make sure they don't let their phones go off, Bob, okay? Mel wanted you to remind you that. Huh?
Nobody's phone rang, but there was a guy checking his email. There
Right.
was Kazaras shots in the back.
Okay. Okay.
I turned my phone off.
All right.
It's different. You want to switch?
Yeah, I
I'll
do.
switch you I'll switch you tomorrow.
Okay, sorry, tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to start learning sponsors. Year of learning the many friends of Stephen Vigdor, Lezeicha Nishmat Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi. Friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. Friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanoch Zundel. 2 months of learning by the friends of Milton Meller in honor of his second bar mitzvah. A month of learning by Chaim and Phyllis Reese in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his mother, Zissel Bat Chaim Yitzchak. Ron and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Fredel Bashraga Fibro. Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Avraham. Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Marka Oneg in memory of his sister, Chava Bas Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his brother, Tzvi Aaron Zev ben Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his father, Harav Simcha ben Yamin ben Harav Yosef Yitzchak, and her mother, Sosa Bat Choyna. Today being the 11th, we have a yortzeit by Rabbi Dr. Moshe Kranzler in memory of his father-in-law, Harav Aaron ben Harav Avraham Yitzchak. That is it. And Shemas have an aliyah, crank Rafiya, Velti Yeshiva Shema Twiya, and Chol B'nai Israel, good Gaben Shtiach.
Amen.
Okay. So we're on Mem Zion Amud Aleph, correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Everybody, what happened to Erwin? Oh, he had to go out?
He's outside.
Yeah. I hear him, yeah. Another minute and then we'll get started.
Green,
Yes, Bob.
you should warn the Olam that we have some regular sized dapim coming up in the next few days. They should tell their wives they may be home a little bit later than.
Still pretty short.
Well, that's a good point, especially since I'm the one who's got to prepare them. Or not just me, but others too, right? But there will be some, they're not, oh,
In the nuns, there are a few
In the
more
nuns?
people.
right,
Actually, Mem Tess is reasonable too.
well, we'll see. And also, they may be longer, but it may be a gadita,
All right.
hard to
I
tell.
find the Agadita hard. 'cause of the
Well, it's the
vocabulary.
language, it's the lashon and the
Yeah.
God.
I mean, when it's just ripping along with the vocabulary is.
Okay. All right. So we're on Mem Vav, we said.
And Zion.
Well, I'm going to say Mem Zion, but it refers back to the Mishnah that we had on Mem Vav. Okay. And okay, where it said,
You can't go into my house.
right,
My
the whole,
field,
right, that
and he
whole
dies,
business there.
or
Okay,
he dies or sells the field.
sells the field. Okay, exactly. Okay, I just wanted to, okay, Homer, okay. Konem lebeit chasha, right?
Shani nichnas,
Shani nichnas v'schodcha shani lokech meit o shemachru la'acher mutar. Konem beit bayit zeh shani nichnas sodeh zeh shani lokech meit o shemachru la'acher asur. That was the last part of the Mishnah. Okay, so that was what we're referring to. So Gemara starts off in Mem Zion Amud Aleph, top of line. By Abimi. So Abimi asks the following: what if the person making the neder phrases it this way? Konem lebayit zeh she'ata nichnas. Okay. Notice he doesn't use the language of my house or your house, but this house. Okay.
But
That-
in the context, he probably means his house.
Well, to this
Otherwise,
house,
it's not
to
a
this house, right? That we're going to see what happens. That's the emphasis of his shaila. Does he mean this particular house that belongs to him, okay, or not? Right? Made oshemachra la'acher, if that property, I'm going to use it that way, is sold. Okay, the person who owns it dies, or the property is sold to a third party, another person, mahu. Abimias, what's the status? Okay, and therefore we get to a question that we actually have had some discussion on previously. Adam oser davar shebirshuto v'ksheyitzei mirushuto olo. Is it possible that when a person makes the property, makes their vow, implying that the property is forbidden, does that prohibition continue when it's beyond his own domain, his own ownership, or not? That's the question. That's Avimi's question. Amar Rav, this is Rava Teshma. Listen to the following. In other words, now he's going to try to answer it from our Mishnah itself. Right? Ha'omer libno. Actually, this isn't from our Mishnah, it's from Baba Kama, 108b or 109a. Okay? Ha'omer lebno, one who says to his son, Konem she'i'ata neneli, I make a vow by sacrifice that you are not to benefit from me. And then that Mishnah says there in Baba Kama, umate, and then the man who said that neder dies, yirashenu, that the young man against to whom the neder was made, nevertheless inherits. Okay? If the man, okay, the father says, b'chayav u'b'moto, if he says that you're not to benefit from me, regardless of whether it's while I'm alive or when I'm deceased, umate, and then he passes away, lo yirshenu, that young man against whom the vow was made does not inherit. Okay?
If he says on a particular piece of property, he can't have any annul from that property, then even after
That
he
would
dies.
be it.
Even after he dies.
Depending how he says it.
Right.
He
So
says,
therefore
"I
that
can't
would,
annul from this property."
right. So therefore, as a result,
While I'm alive and after
okay,
he's dead.
as a result, that would imply that there is the possibility that a person can make a vow and it will stay in effect as a prohibition when it's no longer in his domain, no longer his property. Okay? Shmamina, therefore, from that example in the Baba Kama Mishnah, what do we learn? Says our Gemara, Adam oseh davar shebirshuto, l'ksheyetze mirshuto, shmamina. That indeed we do learn that a person can prohibit something that is part of his domain or property when it leaves his property or domain. Okay? No, we go on. Snan hatan. It was also taught there. Now, taught in this case is a Nadarim Mishnah that we haven't gotten to yet, in about another 10 pages or so, right? Okay, Tanan hatan. Konem perot ha'elu alai. Okay, the individual makes a vow that this particular produce, okay, is forbidden to him like a sacrifice. Okay, or he says it, konem hem alpi, or he makes a vow that they are prohibited through my mouth, or he makes the vow in the following manner, konem hein lepi, that they are prohibited to my mouth. In other words, all three languages of the vow is where he makes a vow on himself regarding the produce, okay, prohibiting it. Namely, then, says this particular Mishnah, Asur b'chilu fehen u'begidu lehen. Then any item that are received in exchange for that produce, or any replacements for that produce, or wait a second, or items that have been grown after seeds from that produce have been planted, that is all prohibited to him. Okay? What happens? By Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama therefore asks the following. When that individual might say, Konem perot ha'elu al ploni, when that person makes a vow, making it prohibited on someone else.
Now his brothers.
Okay? Not on himself.
And somebody else,
Okay? But the prohibition of that produce is on
somebody.
another person, right? Mahu b'chilu fehen. What is the status in regards to those things in exchange for that produce? Is it prohibited to him or not? Okay. Me amrinan, do we say gabi delay? Okay, in regards to him. Okay, ho'il va'adam oseh perot chavero al atzmo. Since it's possible that a person can prohibit the produce of his neighbor on himself, okay, in other words, and that produce may not be presently in his possession, we need to understand, okay? Adam oser davar shelo ba le'olam al atzmo, that a person therefore can prohibit something that has not come into existence yet vis-a-vis himself, okay? Gabe chavero, regarding doing so likewise for another person. Ho'il ve'ein adam oseh perot chavero al chavero. Do we say that when a person is not able to prohibit the produce of his neighbor on his neighbor, therefore, question, ein adam oseh davar shelo ba le'olam al chavero, that a person is not able ever to prohibit something that doesn't exist yet on his neighbor. Okay, that's the question. Oh, as we go to the next Amud, okay, oh Dilma, or perhaps one could reason, okay, a little differently, okay, that one could, since one could forbid specific fruits on oneself, mishum dechilufin kegidulin dam, because anything given in exchange or grown from that produce would be prohibited, right?
That exchanges are equivalent.
Those are equivalent and therefore prohibited on him. Lo shanahu velo shana chavero. that in that we say then that there's no difference whether the prohibition applies to him or the prohibition applies to a neighbor, another person. Okay, that's our question. Amar Rav Achabar min Yomi. So he now puts forward the following. Tashma, listen to the following. Okay, I'm going to cite another source. Ha'omer le'ishto, one who says to his wife, Konem sh'ani nenele. Okay, I take a vow that I will not provide benefit for you. What can she do? Lova u'ba'alei chovin ba'in v'nifra'in. Okay, now remember, he has a deoraita requirement to provide sustenance for her. And therefore, okay, this Gemara from Kedushin is telling us what may she do? She may borrow money from someone else, and then that someone else can come back
Put a lien
and
on his house.
and make a collection from the husband. Because in essence, since there is the Torah requirement, she is exchanging his money for what she bought, exchanging her husband's money for what she borrowed from the provider.
And you see the exchange is allowed.
And it's a viable exchange.
He only say that he's not gonna support her, or he's not gonna do any nor that's required by halakha, which are other things also.
At this point, we're talking about this
Sustenance,
financial obligation.
the basic sustenance that
Whatever
there's
he has
the
to
right is required. Okay,
Right. That's required.
right.
That's a different Gemara.
Okay, so what
Maybe
happens?
make a vow. No, the guy neighbor can't fill in.
Right. Okay, so what happens? So the Gemara now asks, my tama ba'alei chovin nifrain. What is the reasoning that we say that those who loaned her the money can then come and collect it? Okay, put a lien on, same implication, on the husband, right? Lav mishum de chilufin, lav kigidulin dami. Is it not because we can say that exchange for that item is similar to anything?
Not
Okay, is it
Not-
not that lav mishum de chilufin, lav kigidulin dam? Aren't we saying? Isn't it not that we're saying that the exchange is not parallel to something that's grown, produced coming from it? Is that the case? Right? Amar Rava, says Rava, the following. Dilma lechatchila hudala. Maybe we're talking about a situation, okay, that it's initially, okay, sold them, right? That it was done initial act. In other words, not benefit initially, but if it's done, okay, ve'i avad, avad. But if it was done, it's done. Okay? In other words, you shouldn't do it lechatchila, but if it's done, gamarnu. Okay? But the Gemara continues, Ela tashma. But listen to the following example. Hamikadesh ba'orla. Okay, one who does kiddushin using the prohibited item of orla, right? Eina mikudeshet. She is not considered to be mikudeshet, betrothed, engaged. Machran, if, however, she sold, if he sold that item, that
Which he's not allowed
stuff,
to
the
do.
orla, which lechatchila he shouldn't do, but if he went ahead and did it, mela, any case, and then use that money from the sale of prohibited items, okay, v'kidesh v'damehen, and he used that money. In other words, he sold them illegally, okay, and then uses the money. Hare zo mikudeshet. She is considered mikudeshet, which the Gemara tells us, therefore, one may benefit from something received in exchange for something forbidden.
So if somebody steals something and sells it and the cottage with that money.
That would hold. It would be a valid kiddushin.
She's married to a bum, but she's.
Okay,
The same thing with chametz shavar on Pesach. We took that chametz,
Yeah.
sold it.
right?
Same thing.
So the Gemara says, hold on a second. Hachanami lechatchila. Maybe here we're only talking about initially. Okay? Who? Aku, Delo, and maybe there it's not permitted and not appropriate. The avad, avad. But if it was done, it was done. Okay, and by using that money, it is a fait accompli that she is mekudesh. So if we say then you could even use something that's prohibited, okay, that's
a riot. That's the
that's chilufin is not the same as the as gidulin. Okay, all right, let's
But there's
go.
no punishment or anything that's required after that?
That's a different issue.
That's another
Another
topic.
issue, all right.
That's another topic. Okay, all we were trying to prove here.
To see if it's
That
okay, yeah.
exchanges are not.
Okay,
permitted.
and the question is, could he prohibit? We were still trying to prove the bottom line about his making the prohibition for somebody else, even though he could do it for himself. The answer is no, he still can't do it for somebody else. Okay,
The exchange is the
okay, we're now up to our new Mishnah. Okay. All right. Clarification before we start the Mishnah. We're going to see that there is a reference here to cherem. We have two varieties of cherem, or two designations. Let me call it that way. Cherem on the one part means something has been designated specifically for temple property. Cherem, on the other hand, means that it was designated for the Kohanim. There is a geographic difference in how they understand the use of that term. Okay? In the Galil, it was where there were fewer Kohanim. When somebody used the term cherem, they automatically tended to assume it meant for temple property. In Yehuda, where there were many more Kohanim, it could very well be that the use of the term cherem applied to something for Kohanim, which would be usable by others as well. Now, our Mishnah is to be understood that we're talking about the Galil.
Or that you made clear that you meant. cherem.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. Okay? Hareini alayach cherem. Okay? You are to me like cherem. Okay? And we're taking that to mean like the temple property. Okay? Hamodar asur. Okay? The one against whom that vow was made. Okay? The model, right? The one who said it is prohibited to benefit from that.
From whatever it is.
Right. Hare at alai cherem. Okay? But you are cherem to me. Okay, in that case, hanoder, the one who states it, the vow, is prohibited. Okay, going on. He says the following: Hareini alayich va'at alai. Okay, you to me and me to you are like cherem. Shnehem asurim. They are prohibited one to another. Okay. Furthermore, however, says our Mishnah, ushnehem mutarim b'davar shel olei bavel. And the both of them are permitted to have those items that were established as common property of the nation and not individual property, right? Let me finish the perush, okay?
Literally.
Yeah, I'm saying, that's what I just said, okay? All right, Shneim mutarim b'davar shel olei bavel, that is common property of the nation and not as a whole and not considered individual property. We're going to go on just a little bit to the top of Memchet. Va'asurim b'davar shel otah ha'ir, but they are prohibited with regarding to certain items in the town in which they live. Okay, so the Gemara here now is starting to ask us. Okay, ve'ezo davar shel olei bavel. what can we say are examples of common national property? Kigon Har Habayit, like the Temple Mount, Vaha'azarot, and the temple courtyards, right? Vahabor Sheba'emtza Haderech, and any water filling pit that people could take as they travel to get to the Beis Hamikdash. Ve'ezuhi davar shel otah ha'ir, and what do we consider something of the same town? Okay, Kigon harchava, like the public or square of the town. Vahamerchatz, or the public bath. Ubeit haKnesset, or the synagogue in the town. Vahateva, and the ark. Vahasfarim, and the Sfarim. Okay, there.
There are two interpretations. of
Okay,
that.
right? So, why do you say two
One
interpretations?
interpretation is that Teva includes the Sfarim in it, and Sfarim means the Shul's library. And the other interpretation is that Teva means the Teva, and Sfarim means Sifrei Torah. The Rishonim.
Where did you see that?
In the Rishonim.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, all right? And we'll pick up tomorrow a couple lines down, okay? Okay, because we're going to get to the question, all right? Basically, okay, I mean, I could go on, but I want to stop there because I think we're going to get to a slightly different topic in terms of how do you lift that prohibition? And that's going to take us
If I put you in.
further down, okay?
If I make another Mishnah benefit,
I did up to the Gemara, but
Right there, Rabbi.
all right.
I know, but-
We've got, I know some people need to get home and get back.
Remember this?
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
But I am one of the. So you.
Have a good day.
can't-
Thank you. All right, Bob, take care.
I couldn't